Hi kids, how you doing? Welcome to yet another half-assed tutorial on the samples. This week we are going to be looking at the decay, sample length and starting to look at the delights of looping. Looping's quite a big subject, there's quite a lot you can do with it, so I'm going to do a couple more videos on it. Stick around to the end and I'll tell you a little bit more about what they're going to be. So, the first thing that you need to understand is the difference between the sample length button and the decay button. So with the sample length, what you're doing is chopping off the sample dead. You're saying get to a certain point and then stop. If we have a look at the samples, you can hear what I mean. I've already set up this loop starting at the snare, and I want to chop it off so I just get the snare sound. At the moment you heard that the loop extends all the way down, so I'm going to change the sample length parameter. And there you go, you see? Just chops off at the snare sound. The sample length chops the sound off dead. It also does another thing, it sets the loop point, but we'll get to that at the end because that will become quite important in doing other things. Decay in a traditional filter is the sound gradually getting quieter over an amount of time. So if I open up the loop the whole way again, and we start playing with the decay, you'll see what I mean. So when it's on infinite, there's no decay at all. And if I set it to something like 100, you can hear it gradually getting quieter. Now I could get that snare, and the snare actually gets very short before it gets quite clean. So if you want an individual hit with a specific end on it, what you need to use is the sample length. The decay performs another function as well. It sets how long the loop will run for. So let us have a look at what this loop does. We've mentioned it twice already. We've mentioned that the sample length sets the length of the loop, and we've said that the decay tells you how long the loop will run for. So what exactly is the loop and what does it do? Well, pretty much it does exactly what it says on the tin. It repeats whatever sound you've got in there. So if I press the loop button now, and then we open up the decay fully to infinite, all you will hear is the sample repeating over and over and over and over again, because we've not told it that we want it to stop after a specific amount of time. And it will just keep going forever. And you see, just twist the decay and you can hear it die away to nothing. That's the first use of the loop that you can make, and probably the least interesting one, where you just set it up as a kind of a latch for a sample groove. So if you're in a quick position, set that up, press play, and it will just keep repeating it over and over and over again. Gets a bit more interesting when you set the sample length. So let's do that now. Let's take it off so we can hear one shot, and we had it down to about there we go. That's our single snare hit. And this is the other way that you can use the loop, which is quite interesting. If you press the loop button now, and take decay in a little bit, you have got yourself a kind of a pseudo delay button. So if I press now, you can hear it repeat as if it was a delay. If I open up the decay a bit longer, and it's almost like the decay button then becomes a delay feedback control, and the sample length becomes the delay time. But be careful, because that sample length is talking about the audio. So if you play a lower pitch, the delay time extends. If you play a higher pitch, then that timing changes, and that can become important later, but we'll talk about that next time. The other thing that you can do with loop, which is widely considered to be a real benefit, is that you can start to use hits as instruments. So if we take the sample length right the way down, let's get off there, if I take the sample length right the way down, you end up with a single cycle. And that you can play like an instrument, and then you can pitch that down. If you made it up to 1. And that's a snare creating that sound. And of course, once you've got a loop like that, you can play around with things like the cutoff. Which reminds me of one other little trick. So if we open up the sample length again, so I've got the filter. Let me take resonance down, put the filter back up to normal. Now if I go to the LFO and I go to filter frequency, and then let's have it shutting. Make it more extreme, so the more of this I've got, the better. And let's slow that right the way down. It's a bit more like a bit of an old school dub delay. We will explore more of that and what the difficulties and the problems that there are of using the sample length and the decay to create a pseudo delay sound, and some of the tricks that you can use to get around that. We shall also look at some of the tricks that you can use to make interesting instruments using the single cycle on the loop. Those are to come, so come back again. If you've made it all the way through, please subscribe. It would be really nice to see you for more of these kind of things. And if you found it useful, please pass it on to other people who would find it useful. And that's about it. As they say at the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation, share and enjoy. Bye, kids.